You got a killer looking channel going. And it's a great start. It looks like. I love it.
Oh yeah, well see, I've been in radio for let's see, 17 years.
Yeah.
And so, about 10 years ago, I started to record a video version of my radio show. So over the years, I just kind of upgraded equipment,
Yeah.
just a little bit at a time.
So you're here in Burke County.
Yep. Yep. My fiance and I actually own a business in downtown.
What's the business called?
Dogs Unleashed.
Dogs Unleashed. Okay, so tell me, what is that? 'Cause I'm a dog
Okay,
lover.
my fiance has been grooming dogs for 20 years,
Oh,
and she had a place in Asheville, and she decided to move it down here. And so we groom dogs and have also, and I know nothing about this stuff. I'm kind of the front of the house guy, and she's the one that does all the hard work. And then we have dog retail stuff.
so she does golden doodles, I hope.
She does. I think we do most of the golden doodles in Burke County.
Wow. So I've got a crazy one, and he's cool. He's a medium, one of those medium ones. He's about 40-pound dog. His name's Hendrix. I named him after you know who.
Oh, of course. Oh, that's
With an
cool.
X, yeah. So sweet. Well,
Well,
awesome, man. It's great to meet you. So, Chris, go ahead and, for the sake of my viewers, tell me who you are, and then for the sake of your viewers, I'll tell you who I am or whatever. Go ahead.
absolutely. I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and hit record, and we'll get started and all that. Does that work?
You bet, brother. You run it.
All right. Shalom and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Guitar Rabbi YouTube channel. And we got a special guest with us here today, as a matter of fact. A gentleman that is actually in my area, a gentleman by the name of Tony Lee Glenn. And I actually ran upon your YouTube channel because of the drone thing that you had going over Morganton and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I thought it was really neat. And then I was like, I wonder what else this cat does. Oh, he's got a lot of guitar stuff on here, So I saw it, and it seems you know your stuff. So we decided to have you on the program here as the first guest we've ever had on here. As a matter of
Wow,
fact.
I'm very honored, Minna. It's just fantastic.
Absolutely. So give the audience a little bit of the cut of your jib in terms of your walk, basically your since starting playing guitar to where you are now.
It's funny, I had a subscriber, so I've got a pretty popular YouTube channel, about 38,000 subscribers, and a lot of them are guitar players, although the channel's not, totally about a guitar. It's about a lot of things. Like you say, you saw some Morganton video, but had a subscriber a couple days ago ask me how I got started playing lead guitar, and of course so I gave him sort of the whole story. So there's a video on my YouTube channel if you care to know, sort of my path to learning guitar and becoming a guitar player. For me, though, Christopher, should I call you fully Christopher, or you Chris, or you both, or Christopher?
It doesn't matter.
I'll call you Christopher.
I prefer Rabbi Avid Benabar Yochanan.
Okay, now I am 1/8 Jew. People don't know this, but I cannot speak that stuff.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, my
See, I always mess
great-grandfather.
with people at Starbucks by doing that. What's your name? Avid Benabar Yochanan.
Well, Christopher. No, I don't know. I loved. Initially, I loved piano players. I grew up listening to, hearing the Beatles when I was a little kid, because I'm 57 years old, and I think a lot of the YouTube people don't realize how old I am. But yeah, I go way back. I've just tried to take care of myself, so I don't quite look 57. But I can still remember when the Beatles were on the radio, when new singles would come out, and now I initially liked piano players probably better. I liked Elton John when Elton came out, and Billy Joel and people like that. But I couldn't have a piano. We had a very small house. I grew up in a small house up in a place called Little Switzerland, which is way up on the mountains up there. You probably know if you've driven down from Asheville. And so it was like probably, good grief, less than 1,000 square foot house, and we three boys and my mom and dad. We didn't have room for a piano, and you didn't have synthesizers back then. So guitar kind of became what I thought. Well, I could maybe play guitar. I'd love to learn how to do some music. And short story is that I borrowed a guitar, convinced my dad I could learn how to play it. Dad helped me get my first acoustic guitar. Started out playing in church. Of course, it was an awesome rock and roll era when I'm growing up, like the late 70s, early 80s. And I wanted to play rock and roll. I really liked Southern rock a lot back then, but I sort of segued into blues, and I liked progressive rock, stuff like Rush and Led Zeppelin. Well, Zeppelin was more blues rock, but progressive elements. I started listening to Yes and people like that. So I went through phases, and yeah, I mean, so it was kind of just a strange little journey of back then. You didn't have the internet. There were not a lot of instructors up there. It was like going hanging out with your buddies, trying to figure songs out, just listening hard to what was going on the record, picking the needle up and down, taking it back, and getting a cassette player and listening. And so what I play is my interpretation of a lot of these things. And I go back now and I find people's videos online. I see how they're playing it so much better, more accurately than me. And I go see the guitar player. Maybe there's an old video from the 70s on YouTube or something, or the 80s. And I say, holy crap, well, I'm playing the same notes just in different places. So I probably have bizarre voicings sometimes. But yeah, what really changed my life big time from what made me a serious guitar player, because I played in church and I played little Southern rock stuff, and we're trying to learn how to play various different songs. But one of my girlfriends suggested we go see Eric Clapton. He was playing in Bristol, Tennessee back then. He was coming off one of his rehab times, and he was I won't say he was a nobody, but he was sort of a has-been at that point. He hadn't been on the scene in a while. He'd had the song like Lay Down Sally and a few promises, and Wonderful Tonight had come out. This was like 3 or 4 years earlier. But we went to see Eric, and he played in a high school gym in Bristol, Virginia, and there was no security section between me and the stage. And my girlfriend's name then was Terry, and Terry and I stood right up front. But I got right up, I fought my way. I was a pretty big guy and I could work my way in there. I got right up to where I could see where the wah-wah pedal was in the front, and I could actually reach out and touch it if I wanted to. So that's how close I was. And so we spent the whole night like this watching Clapton play blues, and he would like sing real loud and spit would fly off on us. So I have been spit on by Eric Clapton. I've said that in a number of my videos. But it was so cool. That's when I guess I discovered, I want to play some blues. And because he just went on a tear of just massive blues. And he had this guy named Albert Lee, who you may have heard of. It's like sort of the king of country guitar, English guy that played, was backing him up. And he was equally phenomenal. And it was funny, I came out of that thinking, well, I wish I could do some of that chicken picking stuff that dude was doing. But man, I really want to do what Clapton's doing. And so a little later on when I was in college, Stevie Ray came out, and so I've always been sort of on that, I played in bands, lots of bands, and learning lots of songs, everything from new wave to punk rock to, I've played disco, I've played in girl bands, I played Madonna songs, oh, wow. I played heavy metal. At one point my hair was long enough I could tie it in a knot under my chin. I mean, it's just crazy to think back on the little history of what all I've been through as a guitar player, and but never really leaving this area. I played mostly up in the Asheville area back in the early days when I was in college. I went to Mars Hill College, and then played local bands around here. I could name any number of bands that people may have seen me, and that they'll recognize me from time. You used to play in that band, didn't you? I said, yeah. And but anymore, probably the last 10, 12 years, I've done almost no playing out other than parties and things that people have asked me to come to, or sitting in with people, and the whole YouTube thing started happening. And I kind of got happy doing little YouTube videos, and so I'll hush now, and we'll go wherever you want to go with this interview.
Absolutely. And it was kind of similar for me, because I started playing right after on my 15th birthday. I was getting big into Van Halen, and Van Halen was playing the day before my birthday, my 15th birthday, in Charlotte, North Carolina. This was on the Balance tour.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And so I told my dad, I want to learn how to play guitar, and all this stuff, because that was just incredible what it was I was seeing there. And so basically my parents made me start out with acoustic. And later I found out that starting with acoustic, if you are mainly going to play electric, can be a little bit more of a hazard than anything else, because there's two totally different techniques involved. And so a year later, I ended up getting an Ibanez RX series. I was working at Quaker Meadows Golf Course on the weekends, and got myself an Ibanez RX series and an old crate, little crate amp about this big.
Yeah.
I think it was part of like the GX series or something like that. And man, I've realized how much of a different animal playing electric guitar was. And I played in a couple of bands through high school and college. And then there was a guy that came into a place I was managing while I was in college over at Bavard College by the name of Mark Yaxley. And Mark, it was the jazz professor over at Bavard College. And first of all, Mark walked in there drunker than a skunk and was being able to play, he was able to play jazz guitar. And I've never really listened to jazz at that time. Like, it was the most incredible thing I'd ever heard, that nice round sound and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I want to play jazz.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you something. I realized something really quick, that I wasn't as good as I thought I was when I said I wanted to learn how to play jazz, because these jazz guys, I have to say it, I think that they are probably 10 times better than the best rock guitarists.
Yeah. Oh,
that is how good these guys are.
You compare Pat Metheny to somebody like Clapton or Jimmy Page or somebody like that, and you can definitely. Here's the thing though, is although they're technically phenomenal, and I love to hear it, and I love jazz chords and stuff, they're not always as successful because they're just not as accessible, I guess, to people, right? Yeah. I mean, but yeah, keep on going. This is interesting because our parallels are a lot the same.
So what ended up happening for me is, because of that, because of my little ego getting hurt, I ended up giving up the guitar for 14 years. And I, here last year, we had the death of Eddie Van Halen. And I remember when I was a kid, I was like, I always wanted the EVH Wolfgang guitar. Yeah. You know, at that time, PV had them, and they were like $4,000. It's like, there's no way in the world I'm paying $4,000 for a guitar. It's not going to happen. But that was my dream guitar. So I was just kind of curious. I was like, okay, I know I haven't played in a while, but I'm just curious to how much it is that a PV Wolfgang is now. And I found that the Fender had taken over the Wolfgang. $700.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I can save up for this. And so I went and I talked to my fiance, and I said, you know, because any sort of decision that I make, I run by her, you know. And so I said, honey, I'm thinking about going and getting a guitar, playing a little bit, and possibly, you know, after I get back up to snuff like I was, going and doing a couple of EPs to help out individuals who are going through tough times and all that stuff. Because with the internet now, the thing I was amazed by is that, you know, they had these modulators that weren't around in the 90s. Yeah. You know, these things to where, like, I ran across the thing called the Zoom G3, and I was like, this is incredible.
I actually had one. Yeah.
Yeah, I had one too, and I gave it to one of my ordination students' sons, who is just incredible on the guitar, and I'm ordering a G12 myself. And so I got that, and I got the PV VIP2, which has modulation. And this kind of gets us into our gear topic, which is, I'll tell you, there's some amazing things in the technology today that I love exploring. But at the same time, I am drawn back to the analog. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I tend to like the old analog better, when I used to have to pay, you know, $100 for a pedal, you know, as opposed to $300 for all the pedals in a modulation.
Right.
And you know, I see people all the time with the big guitar channels saying, oh, these modulations are great, you can't tell the difference and all that stuff. And maybe it's because of the fact that the ones that I have owned are early generations, I don't know. But I still, you know, say there's something about that analog, and I wanted to see what it is that you thought about that.
Well, so I'm probably both good and bad to ask about this because, you know, naturally coming up the way I came up, everything was analog. All my recording in the early days was with Fostex or Tascam tape decks. When I worked at Mars Hill, I got familiar. I had you know, side jobs and stuff when I was there. I got familiar with Fostex 1/2-inch 8 tracks. And so I understand about, you know, tape speed and saturation and how to get pretty good sounds, and like we'd have visiting artists come in, like Lionel Hampton Orchestra would come in, and we would record them playing. It was like amazing, and we'd set up like 12 mics or something and go into a big board, and a lot of times it would just be a stereo mix or something we record. But yeah, so I come from the analog background. All my effects naturally starting out. The first ones I had were MXRs and Boss. It's funny. Somewhere I got to go digging for it to see where they all are. But I've got an old Boss CE1 chorus from back in 1980. Good grief, like 1985. I mean, so I've got some very vintage. I've got the old DS1 distortions, and it's funny. And I let some of these things go. Some of them I just sold, gave away because I thought, well, the digital world's coming, the whole digital thing. And you know, I think for the longest time it became very sterile. The digital, here we are, we're recording digitally now, you and I, and I'm going through a board, and then ones and zeros are coming out or being translated into an audio wave. So they're and here behind me, I've got a friend let me borrow a Tone Master Deluxe. This is one of the emulation. It's a digital emulation of a tube amp. It's funny to me how people are trying as hard as they can to use digital gear to produce analog sounds, the sounds of old tubes or the sounds of tape. A lot of people are doing recordings now and adding tape hits to it, or the sound scratches and things to kind of make it feel more like it's something that's vintage, because they realize there's some sort of character thing or something to that. Sometimes pristine audio isn't exactly what sounds the best. What sounds the best is, it's hard for me to put my finger on it. Christopher, you've, I'm sure, sit and listen with headphones on to a nice album, right? And you listen to a CD, and honestly, still to this day, which one satisfies you a little bit more? Which one hits you a little more in the heart? To sit and listen to some old records, even though there's some like dust and scratches on them, it just it sounds better. There's an infinite amount of wave energy there, rather than just 48, 16-bit or 24-bit, or now they got 32-bit floating point. I got to say, digitally, it's amazing. It's amazing how you can record things in these different formats now, and that allows you to stretch audio and retune it and all that. But I tell you what, I don't do any of those things. I like to just record the best, cleanest sound I can. When I record vocals, I'm a terrible singer, but I don't try to auto-tune them. I listen to my favorite singers, some of them, like Mark Knopfler was not a great singer. Tom Petty was not a tremendous singer. I mean, these guys would get close to the note and stay with it. And Bob Dylan, Lord knows, I mean, Bob would go out, and even Stevie Nicks, some of the best singers you'll hear, that there's just a whole lot of microtonal on and off of their voice. And that's kind of what made them really cool. And I hear today's music, I think, a lot of it's so polished and so dialed in that I can't hardly listen to it. And
it reminds me, and it's not quite, the stuff back then wasn't quite this bad, but it was almost like there was, like, for instance, there was a Christian rock band called Holy Soldier.
Yeah.
And as well as, another one, Stryper, had the same problem. But everything was so compressed.
Yeah.
I mean, so compressed to the point to where it was like crystal clear and all this stuff. And I was sitting there saying, this really doesn't even sound real.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of a lot of the stuff that we have today. I say to myself, there's really no musicianship there. It's like we have gotten into this realm of technology of the ones and zeros, like you talk about. And it's like what I can spit out using the same programs that cost like $15 and all this stuff are multi-million-dollar, productions, in the studios, and you just don't see any of these anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't see real drums either.
The interesting thing is that from the music industry's point of view, the guitar is sort of dead. I mean, it's just a rhythm instrument that's there. You never hear guitar solos in anything anymore. Mm-hmm. But from the internet's point of view, from YouTube and from Instagram, places like that, the guitar is big. It's more huge than it's ever been. And I love that. I love that although the music industry thinks they know what people want, people really do want something totally different. And it's like, I don't know, I'm just not... let's face it. Why is it that music from the 60s and the 70s and even the 80s, partially in the 80s, is still the music that people seem to want to hear? I mean, that's still, even when I go to watch cover bands and stuff on YouTube, they're pulling from the 70s, they're pulling from the 80s, they're pulling from late 60s or mid 60s. And it's because, I think also the fact that that the songs were not controlled by corporations. And I know that there are like songwriting super teams now that just write basically every song you hear on the radio if it's new. And it's very seldom you find somebody, it's just a regular old somebody that writes a song and it makes it, unless it's something that just goes viral on YouTube.
Yeah, it's interesting because the other day I was listening to a Motown station that was playing on my Apple TV while I was going and cleaning my apartment and stuff. And the song came on and I was like, that is a really cool old song. What is this? And so what I did is I ended up pulling out my phone and doing what's that thing the app that finds the names of songs?
I can't think of it either, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I go and I pulled that up, and I had to make this face. I was like, no, that's not right. And it was Paul Stanley and Soundstation. I've never been a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
Never. But he just put out an album the other day that is all like this 60s and 70s style Motown, and it sounds exactly like it.
Paul Stanley doing that?
Yeah. And so I go to his YouTube channel to see if there's more information about this, because I know nothing about this. I'm not a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
And so, I go and I look at this, and this video has gotten millions upon millions of hits.
Wow.
And I'm sitting over there saying to myself, there is something that is happening in the music world that the music, the record stations are just ignoring. And I thought this was a cover song, because it sounded so 60s and 70s Motown.
Wow.
And come to find out, he had written this song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I will check that out. Yeah, Paul. So no, I was not a super big Kiss fan either, but I did like certain songs that they came out with, and I probably liked them more for in the 80s when they came out, stuff like Tears Are Falling and stuff like that. But, everybody liked Beth when it came out. I remember I was maybe 12 or 13 or something like that.
The one I really liked was Forever. That was my favorite. That was the coolest darn power ballad ever.
And, even back in the disco time, they did what was the song? I was made for loving you, baby, or something like that. And it had the disco beat all the way through it, but the crunching guitars.
Oh, yeah.
And you as a rabbi, would probably appreciate the fact that Gene and Paul are Jewish. So that's pretty cool.
That can be debated.
Well, they might not be practicing, but
Yeah, considering what it is that they do, the Talmud goes and says they're no car. And what is a no car? It's a guy that kind of goes against the Torah, so we in Judaism kind of see them as a heathen.
Oh man, but that is cool. I remember when Rod Stewart, he'd always been the kind of English rocker, epitome of the English rock vocalist, and then he went and did the whole Motown thing. That was like, 12, 15 years ago, and he did. And he turns out he's a fantastic Motown type singer, soul
and
singer.
I heard, but I'm one of the weirdos that heard that, and I was like, I like good jazz, but I don't like that.
Yeah, well,
I liked him like in the '90s when he redid one of his old songs that became really big, and Forever Young. That stuff.
He did an old Curtis Mayfield song when I was in college, People Get Ready, which is, I guess, an old gospel or spiritual type song. He did it with Jeff Beck, because he and Jeff used to play together, Jeff Beck group. And that's one of my favorite songs. I just love to listen to that. That's kind of the song that got me into Jeff Beck. It's funny how, it's like nobody was listening to him. And suddenly I said, hey, well, who's that guy with Rod? Jeff Beck. And I found he was with Jeff Beck group at one point. So I went and got the records and started listening to Jeff, and holy crap. And still to this day, there's a minor influence of Jeff Beck in my play, because I just can't quite pick out what he's doing to create some of the sounds he's doing. He uses the trim in very unusual ways, and the volume, the swells, and just to pick attack, and using his fingers to pick certain ways. And he's just. So your channel is a lot about what, reviews of guitar gears. I watched a couple of your videos, but is that kind of the basis of your channel?
Well, what I tend to do is it's a couple of things. I try and come at things from a beginner point of view because of the fact that a lot of this stuff that's out now is new to me.
Yeah.
You know, all of this digital stuff. So it's like I go and I get the budget stuff that I can afford and I test it out. Obviously, with like 28 subscribers, I don't have any sort of sponsors or anything like that. So yeah, I'm actually paying for this stuff. But you know, so I'll go and I'll get the budget stuff, and then I go and I test it out. Like I tested out a $15 wah pedal.
Yeah.
Which was horrible, by the way.
Okay.
So it's good to know these things because you can find some really cool budget stuff, and then you can find stuff that's not all that great. So I do a little bit of that, and then also, you know, people send me questions like, what's the difference between overdrive and distortion?
Yep.
So I'll go and I'll use my Klon Centaur clone that I have over here and use that as the overdrive to show that, and then
Classic
I'll use
overdrive, yeah.
Yeah.
Tube Screamer and Klon. If you could emulate those, you know, you got it, you know.
Yeah, and I got this sucker for only like $65 in China. It's the same circuit as the Klon Centaur.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
who's the manufacturer of that one, Christopher?
has no name.
Has no name. Wow.
Just go on eBay and look up Klon Centaur, and I think it's like $65.
Wow.
Yeah, and I
check it
absolutely
out.
love this. This is my favorite pedal, in all honesty.
Well, you know,
because it
I am
gives
using
that round sound.
I've been letting my subscribers know about these the ones that Behringer makes. Behringer's making a little, you know, fake Tube Screamer. I think it's called the TO800, and it's fantastic. I mean, I can give you an example. Let me see if I can go to a clean
do
sound
it.
here on this. So see, I've got the Tone Master behind me here. Can you hear that pretty good?
Yep.
So let me hit the Tube Screamer on that. Maybe blowing the gain out on my. That sound real distorted, I'm sure, right?
Oh, it sounds great.
Really? So, but you know, then I've also got the OD300 by Behringer here. That's like more of a distortion. So you got this kind of thing. Eric Johnson kind of. I'm not playing that right. Where you go back to you.
Oh, that's incredible. And I'll tell you, that gets a very good tone out of it as well. Now, what exactly do you have in your rig over there?
Tonight, what I'm doing, like I said, after I get through with this video, I'm going to record this guitar, which is a $200. Speaking of economy guitars, try to get right in the picture here. This is the Ibanez. Good grief! Now what is it? Oh, good night. I can't
You better remember for your video.
It's terrible. I can't remember the model. Oh, AX120. The AX120. So it is. You know, it is an SG copy, and I swear it sounds as good as any SG I've played. It's $200. The neck is fantastic. The pickups sound great. It's a beautiful finish on it, you know, and it's got really nice bevels. It's got the kind of cool little neck, high access for the neck where the bolt in is and everything.
Oh, nice.
And so tonight I'm going into I've got a poly tune on the floor to tune up. And that's going into the Behringer Tube Screamer clone, which I think it's TO800. I can't see; it's kind of dark down there. Then I'm going into the distortion. Then I have a Hall of Fame reverb that I'm not using that. This was the spring reverb sound on this Tone Master you're hearing. So what I'm doing a demo of this cheap guitar into a Tone Master to show how good a Tone Master can make a cheap guitar sound. And
You know,
so
speaking of cheap guitars, I have a Chipson coming in the mail in the next couple of days.
Who makes the one that is it kind of got a name to it, a name brand?
It's the it's gonna say Gibson on it,
okay.
and it's also gonna have the Slash logo on it for the
yeah.
Slash Appetite for Destruction Les Paul.
Well, I mean, now I've played a lot of Chinese. I guess one of the most popular videos I've got online is me doing a Oscar Schmidt, which is made in China, $200 gold top. If you do a search for me and the and the Oscar Schmidt $200 gold top, you'll see it's probably got, I don't know, it may have 50,000, 60,000 views now. I might have more than that. I have no clue. I never go back and really watch them. Once in a while, I'll go back and I'll do a review of, well, what are people watching? And but I think that's my most watched guitar video, and that thing sounds great. And I got it about 5 or 6 years ago, and I actually donated it to a friend whose son was starting to play guitar. And so it was just fantastic. Some of these Chinese guitars, well, of course, this one is Indonesian. Yeah. They're made as good or better than they used to be made in America. I know now American ones are maybe getting a little more upscale to sort of compensate for the fact that the guitars are being made so well over there. You got to justify the price somehow, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's cool. Speaking of which, this one over here, you know, looking at it over here, you would think it was a Gibson
ES335, yeah,
335, but no, actually, Harley Benton.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know, I've never played one, but everybody asks me, will you review a Harley Benton at some point? Aren't they kind of hard? Are they hard to get over here? Aren't they made in England or someplace?
They are made in Germany from a company named Thomann. Is where I got mine, and I'll tell you, I got this in less than a week.
Wow!
Less than a week. It came all over here from Germany. Now they'll charge you $50 shipping, and all that stuff. And I gotta say, between this and my EVH 50 or my EVH Wolfgang, this one is my favorite guitar.
Really?
In all honesty, this one, it feels better, even though the other one's got the maple neck on it. Yeah. This one right over here plays like $1,000 guitar, I think. You know.
It plays.
And it has the coil split as well, so I can have it go to single coil and all that stuff. And by the way, you know, you were asking about the Klon. I got that going through the Klon.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. That sounds great. Wow.
Yeah, $65, man. I'll send you the link to that. You would absolutely love it, especially with the style of stuff that you play.
The Semi Halls I've got are the cheaper. I've got one of the more expensive Ibanez's, the AS93, but the AS73, I bought one used about 3 or 4 years ago in Asheville at the Guitar Center for like $300. And man, is that a monster guitar. Put some locking tuners on it. It is sweet, you know. So nice. Yeah, I'm all about cheaper guitar. The only expensive guitars I do have a Les Paul Studio that I bought back in 2008, I think, and it was like $1,100 when I bought it. So I've got that. I have an American Telecaster from 1989. I bought it for $550 back then. Now it would be, $1,500 probably. And then I've got a Variax. I bought one last year just because I really wanted to see about the modeling guitars. I got a few videos out with it, and it sounds fantastic. And the truth of the matter is, certain things, like I've got a Line 6 Helix over here you can't see.
The Helix is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what? It's almost like I go back to simpler things, because when you have 500 options, you can just sit there and drive yourself nuts with the options. And eventually I'm going to use the Helix. I'm going to have to play some shows coming up with some of my buddies, and some wedding stuff and all that. I don't know I don't know if I'll ever play out again unless COVID settles down. But I got to start programming some tunes in there. And the thing that the Helix does so great is I could have 50 songs in there, 50 different guitar setups for 50 different songs. But back when I played in the old days, I went out with basically what I got now. I had a tube screamer, a delay, a compressor maybe, and going straight into an amp. And that was all. Maybe a chorus to play those 80s type songs that I played.
Oh yeah.
And but you know what? People didn't care. People didn't care that every single guitar sound I played sounded just like the record. Nowadays, what you've got is you could dial in. You could take a Variax and you could press one button and it could change the patch to a Telecaster on the Variax, and suddenly you could be playing Roxanne with just the right amount of delay and just the right amount of effects and the right amp and everything. Or you could click a button, all of a sudden you're playing a Gibson Explorer and you're playing Freebird. It's crazy that you can do that, but at the same time, you spend so much time trying to learn how to program these things that you're not playing guitar anymore. You're sitting there trying to learn how to finesse a piece of gear. It's tough.
Well, there may be a solution to that. There's something that I'm looking into that I'm going to be reviewing here soon. I plan on ordering it probably next month. But are you familiar with the positive grid?
The Spark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been seeing it, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I've not bought one yet.
Yeah. See, with those, it seems, because I had the same headache with my Zoom G3. I could not figure that thing out.
Yeah.
It took me like a month to finally figure out that the patches are different than dialing in, individual pedals and all that stuff, and then trying to get the right distortion, the right, because it's not like that it's emulating this particular guitar pedal. It's like, oh, well, we got our own name for this distortion, our own name for this one. And then they throw in all these wacky things in there. It's like, what the heck am I going to use that for? And so, yeah, I agree with you, because I was spending a lot of time going and trying to figure out to get the sound that I wanted, trying to get that Def Leppard tone, in many ways, because I love that 80s tone, especially with the clean when you have the chorus and the delay and all that stuff. I'm just trying to set up something simple here, something that sounds like the old Rockman.
Yeah.
And it was like a lost cause almost, because I didn't know how to work the thing properly. So when I saw the Positive Grid Spark come out, I was like, oh, so these people program it for me what I want.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Beautiful. That really is. And I understand it also, it comes with a software package that recognizes chords, right? So if you want to play along with a song on a record, you could, or you could go to iTunes or something, get a song, run it through it, and it'll tell you what the chords and stuff are, which that's pretty cool. I have to say that. But it looks like a fantastic piece of gear.
And I'm excited to go and test that sucker out. I'm not so excited about testing out the Zoom G11, but I know it's going to help me in my recordings at some point. So it's one of those things that's kind of a necessary evil as I'm slowly building up my pedal board and all that stuff.
Wow, so you've been back playing for how long now?
About 2 months.
2 months, really?
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
And one of the things I can tell you, and one of the things that I always tell, I started doing some on-demand lessons, just the very basics.
Yeah.
And that's what's streaming below at guitaracademy.us. And it's just on-demand lessons that you go and you watch the videos. And the thing that I had to realize when I first started picking up the guitar again is one of the main things that was very important was getting rid of my old ego, thinking that I was really good.
Yeah.
And I had to start back at basics and say, you know what? I learned some bad technique. I learned, some bad habits that I had to break. Just constantly sitting around, just fiddling around the pentatonic scale and playing the same thing over and over again and all this stuff. So it's one of those things to where, the very first video that I did in that, I said, you know what? The first part of this is not going to be fun. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you, oh yeah, we're going to have fun right from the beginning. There's a foundation that a person has to have when they are wanting to get better, because I was stuck in limbo for about 5 years of not getting any better, not progressing. And the thing is that I don't want to see people go and fall into the same thing, because I think we've all been there.
Yep. Well, I mean, definitely. I'll tell you one of the things that has sort of... So I'm trying. I'm giving this a shot. I was going to see if I could grab it right quick. I'm not sure where I put the book, but there's a local guy named Joseph Hasty who plays in this the local jazz band. Do you know Joe?
Yeah, he plays for Centerpiece.
Centerpiece Jazz. So I went and recorded a live show for Joe. One of the things I do professionally is multi-camera video. And so I went and shot. If you saw any of his Christmas show that he did, that was me that shot that.
Oh, cool.
Yes, so it's like, 6 or 7 cameras I had there, and I had to go back and mix it all together, the different multi-angles and everything. But so I coming out of that show, I said, Joe, it's really cool. You play all these songs, and I love the chords, and I've always liked jazz chords and stuff, but I just don't know where to go to learn all this comping and stuff. And he told me, he said, Tony, you got to buy the Mickey Baker books. And so I bought it. I don't know if you ever heard of Mickey Baker. You probably have since you were into jazz.
No, I'm gonna have to write this down.
Dude, Mickey Baker. And Joseph even told me which book to get. But you go there, you go to Amazon. It's like a $15 book. And so Mickey was this great jazz guitarist, but more than anything, he's a great educator. And I was watching an interview just recently, like one of my heroes is a guy named Robin Ford, tremendous blues player. I mean, you've ever listened to Robin Ford's music? Robin is like, holy cow, he's one of the best blues players ever. And I always appreciated his rhythm playing too, the chords and stuff he'd play. And he said, you know what really changed my life? And he's talking about back in the 70s. He said, this was when I got the Mickey Baker book. And so these books have been around forever. And I'm going, holy crap. And there's of course, a great guitarist that I like online now, Greg Koch. Do you watch Greg?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, check it out. It's Greg, Koch. And he does reviews for a company called Wildwood Guitars. But he also has his own channels. He's very well-known Midwestern, like Milwaukee area, blues and jazz and rock player. And he's like an absolute walking encyclopedia of guitar licks. I mean, he'll do these Wildwood videos, and there are like hundreds of them out there. It doesn't sound like he plays the same thing on any of them. And I went and saw Greg live at Sweetwater. I got invited out to go to the Sweetwater Gear Fest a couple years ago by the people that I buy a lot of stuff from. And of course, they knew I did
Sweetwater.
Yeah, Sweetwater Sound out of Indiana.
Yeah, the thing that people need to know about Sweetwater is they are the best in how they treat their customers.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Whenever I order from them, my rep Joe, he goes and is like, okay, I just want to go over your order with you. It's like, who the heck does this?
I know.
You know, then they send you the bag of candy
in there. You know. Yeah. I got a guy named Stewart Niven who's out of Australia, but he's moved to Fort Wayne. Hey, Christopher, if you ever get a chance to go up there to Gear Fest, once this whole thing breaks, this whole COVID thing breaks, they had to cancel it last year. But I got to tell you, there's nothing more fun for a guitar player, especially somebody that's into gear. Go up and go to the first day of it, because the first day there's not as many people. The second day, it's like a Friday, Saturday thing. And so go up, take a day off. And I drove to Indy. I didn't fly up there because I kind of wanted to see the countryside. And so I went up through West Virginia and across Ohio. I'd never been through that part of Ohio, and go up into Indiana, and it was just great. It was you walk in the door, you're treated like a VIP. There are thousands of people there. All your guitar heroes are there because you're out there, the biggest music retailer in the world now. And so you go there, you'll be walking around. There's Doyle Bramall, or there's Tim Pierce is a. I don't know if you ever heard Tim Pierce, but he's a great, he's a phenomenal studio player.
Yeah. I remember when he played guitar when I went and saw Joe Cocker in concert when I was 16. And then he also played guitar for Meatloaf in the TV special he did. And I thought and that's when I knew who he was. He also played on the Joe Cocker live album, which was amazing.
Oh, he's played on 1,000 records, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, my gosh, this guy's incredible. How come nobody has heard of him at this point?
I'll tell you a funny story. So I heard Tim was going to be doing a little seminar type thing, and it was something for the Oxbox. But so I got there real early. There was in Sweetwater they have like 8 or 10 little theaters where you can go and you can see, like, here Paul Reed Smith will be in one of these, or here'll be a drum symposium in another one, or some Victor Wooten's playing bass over here and stuff. So I go there because I want to see Tim. I want to see Tim in his little talk. And so I'm in there, and I'm like the first person in there, and I had my GoPro with me, so I was setting it up. I went on the first row, and I sat down. So I'm 30 minutes early, and there's Tim comes walking in. He's messing around his amp, and I notice he keeps looking over at me a little bit, And I said, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I'm probably pissing him off because I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use that.
It's okay, it's all right.
That's actually in the Bible though. but anyway, I thought, man, I'm probably upset, and he probably doesn't want me putting this camera up. And at some point, he kept looking back at me, and I said, hey Tim, I'm sorry. Is it okay that I shoot some video of you? I said, I'll put this away if you want me to. He goes, no, that's okay. He said, I watch you on YouTube.
Oh, cool deal.
And so what was crazy is he knew who I was. He had seen some of my videos, and he said, I'll flip through, I see all kinds of stuff. He said, I've seen you. He said, I can't remember your name. I told him, we talked for 4 or 5 minutes and everything. And it's funny, later he was there, what's the guy named Mitch Gallagher is one of the guys on Sweetwater's channel that's kind of their spokesperson. And so Tim was on there. When I came back from Indiana, I was going through the videos they posted 3 or 4 days later, and there was Tim talking to me, and he didn't say my name or anything. So yeah, I met a guy out there, and I've seen some of his YouTube videos. He watches me all the time. He tells me what it means to him, and so I said, that is crazy that this like top LA studio musician that's played on everybody from Michael Jackson to I mean, he played on Iris from Goo Goo Dolls. He played all the Rick Springfield records. He's played for. It's just unreal, all the people that this dude's played with, and the internet, because of YouTube. He knows who I am. I just thought he was some dude from Burke County up on top of Mineral Springs Mountain, and I don't know. I still find it. I'm interested. I want to know, what was it made you decide you wanted to do this YouTube thing?
Basically, what made me want to do it is because the fact of seeing all this stuff that was out there now that wasn't around when I was around in the 90s playing. And it's like, some of this stuff is pretty cheap. So I could like test this stuff out and, talk about it from a beginner's perspective, essentially, saying, okay, well, if you're a person like me who basically, I consider myself still a beginner because I gave it up for 14 years and I'm having to relearn it, so, it's like it'd be cool to kind of have
document your journey.
Well, document the journey, and also those who are going out and spending all their money on gear and all this stuff, and then they get it, and then it's like it's not what they want. And what better than to have somebody who's a beginner who can mess anything up easily to kind of go and do the review for them, because they're going to know the worst it's ever going to sound,
Yeah. Hey, I got to ask, is that your gear board behind you that you're using for your green screen? No?
That's one from, that one's from Google Images.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, all I got right now is I got the Klon clone. I got the $15 wah pedal that sucks, that I'm actually going to get slash wah. And then a noise gate that I ended up finding for $20 that by a company called Newer. That is outstanding. And so I'm slowly building it.
When you say Newer, is it Neewer? Newer?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, they make great stuff, man. Everything I've bought from them.
Behringer makes great stuff, like you were using. From what I've been told, they are basic clones of the Boss pedals.
Yeah, I mean, man, like I say, that Tube Screamer is very satisfying, and I used to have an old Tube Screamer. As a matter of fact, I might still have it. I was trying to. It's funny. I went through a divorce years ago, and so a lot of my stuff got put up into storage, and I honestly have never gone back, and it's like everything's just a muddy mess. I knew I sold some of my pedals, and I know I've still got some. I may have some classic stuff out there. I know I probably have one of the old Boss compressor limiters, which really is the best. It's the best one you can get. I mean, to me, it still is, and I'm using all these digital ones now. But yeah, I realize I got to say for what I do, which is what do I do? I can't characterize myself as a guitar player on YouTube. It's not like I do reviews. I also do this blues jams. I do band in the box stuff. I do. It's almost whatever itch I want to scratch is what I do. If I come out and I think, I'd like to just do a comparison of a $200 Les Paul with a $1,200 one. I'm just going to do that tonight, just for fun. And so I don't really have a plan. I like the fact that I think you are headed in the right direction with your channel, and that you have a structure. You've clearly thought about it. It's sort of like my YouTube channel has happened by mistake, which is it's kind of funny. It's sort of like it just serendipitously became whatever the viewer wanted, because my channel started out as a hiking channel, as me posting videos of going to the top of Table Rock, and then people would ask me, well, what kind of camera are you using? And so rather than, I was too lazy to write a whole bunch, I just do a video and talk about my cameras. And then people now started noticing there were guitars behind me. Hey, you play guitar. Play us something on guitar sometimes. So I said, hey guys, tonight somebody asked me to play guitar. I'm going to play a blues jam using a backing track from PG Music. And so then that sort of started that way. And then I got the Gibson, the Chinese Gibson from Oscar Schmidt, the OE20. Yeah. I did that video. So many people started watching it. They said, do you have any of the other Oscar Schmidt guitars? I said, well, I do. I've got the Delta King. And so I played some stuff on the Delta King. I did a video with a blues jam on that. And so it's funny. My whole channel really has been dictated by what does the viewer want. You know, they'll ask me questions, and pretty much I'd say 75% of what I do on YouTube is just responding to what people say. But I'm not responding with text, responding with another video. And it's funny, so they are actually helping me build my channel, the viewer is, which is sweet, awesome. Isn't it, you know?
See, and that's better thought out than mine. Mine basically was just, that might be cool. Yeah. That was the most thought that is put around it and all. So it sounds like you've actually got some structure there to some point.
Well, like I say, all I do here again is the channel is really about whatever I think is cool. Yeah. So those are the things that are not asked for by. So, like yesterday, I put out a video about putting a stone path in my yard, and sometimes I'll put out a video about the golden doodle, or I'll show how to change the windshield wiper blades on my car because somebody asked me, somebody at work, hey, how do you change the blades on that? It's funny. Now, one of the things I did, and I gotta say, I pat myself on the back for this, and I'm very, very seldom am I proud of anything I do. But about 3 years ago, I had to get a new water heater. My water heater busted, and so I hired a plumber to come over, and he said, well, I'll go over to Lowe's and get you a water heater. And he came back with one from a company called A.O. Smith. I'd never heard of this before. So he comes back with this water heater. I know it's funny we're talking about guitars, but I'm talking about water heater. But this is a good example of how magical YouTube is. So he comes back, I said, I've never heard of this company. He said, well, that's pretty much exclusively what Lowe's is using now, these A.O. Smith water heaters. Really? And I said, okay. So he put the water heater in for me, and later that night I go to take a shower, and the water was just kind of lukewarm. And so I said, gee whiz, I got to be able to, some way I got to turn, I'd never turned the heat up on a water heater before. Every place I lived before, it was set right by the plumber, but this guy set it kind of low. And so I went. What I did, I went on YouTube, and I found a guy showing how to turn up the heat on your water heater. And his video was like 12 minutes long. It was long, and it was yada yada, a whole lot of that. And I said, okay, well, I wonder if my water heater is the same way. And I went out and looked. It looked like it's going to be basically the same technique. And I said, I think I'll make like a 3-minute video that shows how to do this. And so I say, folks, I got an A.O. Smith water heater. These are the ones that Lowe's is selling. Now, Lowe's is the biggest retailer, of course, in the country now for hardware. I said, my water heater needs to be turned up, so I'm going to show you how to do it. And so I did exactly what the other guy did. I just did it faster, and I cut it together real quick. I put it out there, and so that was 3 years ago. And to date, so my water heater and paying the plumber and everything was like $1,050. And so far, the YouTube video has made like $750. So nice. over the course of time, the fact that I posted a 3-minute video about how to turn the water heater up will pay for my water heater. I'll have a free water heater. Crazy,
that's
isn't it?
Smart. That's smart because you won't believe how many times I've had to go to YouTube and be like, how do I do this?
Yep.
Or how do I do that? And so the thing about this, I'm sure that a lot of people were wondering the same thing. A funny similar story is that in my apartment building, I think somebody one day adjusted the hot water too hot one day. And the thing about those that I've been in this apartment building for like 10 years. So it's like I'm used to what the water's at and what part of the shower. So I go and I get in the shower. This is probably about a month or two ago. And I was like, why is my foot burning? And I go to make my hot tea, at night that I always have. And it was like, okay, I take it, I go and I put it on the stove. And then like less than a minute, the water's already boiling. And then luckily about a day later, I think everybody else kind of complained and they got it fixed. Oh, goodness. I'm telling you.
Well,
I'm telling you.
so I got to ask, so you're doing these live streams and they're being saved somewhere, but are you also saving it out to YouTube, Christopher? I mean,
Yeah, after it goes there, it goes into the on-demand, I think like a day later, considering their whole thing. But what I tend to do is, believe it or not, I get many more hits on Vimeo than I do on YouTube.
Wow.
And I think the reason being is because of the fact that I use my Vimeo account as my catch-all for both of my channels. I do Jewish teachings, and then I also have this channel as well. And so the thing that I've noticed is that Vimeo is much nicer to the Jewish population.
Really?
Yeah. So, the thing is that I go over there and like my videos on my paid, well, plus it's a paid account, on there will get like my Jewish teachings will get like 1,000, 2,000 hits. On YouTube, it's like you got 20.
Wow.
Yeah. So Vimeo is my preferred thing, but I always take like these teachings and also put them on Vimeo. I go and I download them after the stream is done on StreamYard and then upload them there. And then I also have the ability to make a Roku channel out of the videos on Vimeo, which is nice because it's so quick and easy to do by simply making a playlist.
I need to, I have a Vimeo account and some of my clients use it, so I upload to Vimeo for them. I need to go back and explore a little bit more with Vimeo. I've been doing the whole YouTube thing. What was funny is, my account is monetized, and so I use whatever money I've got to actually, what I do with the money is I actually pay the mortgage for my mother-in-law's house. When my wife and I got married, her mom was living in a mobile home that was not in good repair. Right. And so I remember I told Nikki, I said that I had just like maybe a year before I'd monetized my YouTube account. And I said, hey baby, if we get to making X amount of dollars per month on YouTube, let's buy your mom a house. And, cool. It'll belong to us ultimately, but she can live in it for her entire life. And so what happened? We prayed about it. You're a man of God. We prayed about it. Lord, if it's in our heart to do this thing for Nikki's mom, and help this YouTube channel, and it'll be extra money that we can make, and we can pay an extra house payment. And within 6 months, we were making that money, man. And it's I give glory to God for that. And I'm very thankful. And the channel's continued to grow, and I can now make typically 2 or 2.5 house payments a month for, just using YouTube money. So anybody that watches me and supports me on YouTube, you're helping Nikki's mom. That's really what you're doing.
That is
you're helping
awesome.
us bless
so
Nikki's
cool.
mom. So praise the Lord for that. I'm super happy about that, and that's why the other thing though too is although that's where the money goes, I don't really have much of a strategy. If I were smarter, I could probably make way more money, but I'm really not. I sort of, like I said, I'm sort of haphazard with the whole YouTube thing. It is just sort of a shotgun approach. I'm certainly nobody you'd want to model a channel after. I'm just happy that it makes a little bit of money and I can still have fun with it. And for me, it's still all about more all about fun than anything else.
Absolutely.
And connecting
you
with
do
people.
a great job at what it is that you do, like the whole thing with that drone going over Morgantown. I don't think anybody else has done that, And
what happened with that? The story it's not like I just willy-nilly do these things. So you may have seen something called Work and Burke around town. All these little round signs that say Work and Burke. What it is, it's a workforce development program. I think that may be grant funded somehow. And they hire me to do their videos, and so almost all the videos, what the videos are about is about businesses in Burke County, and what the whole gist of the Work and Burke program is to convince young people to go get a little bit of education, at least go to community college or something, but then don't go off and leave, come back here, work here. And so we're trying to let them know that there are quality jobs. You can make money if you got a little bit of education. You can make a good living working in Burke County. But So the drone flights I do, I always use them for establishing shots. Because we're talking about Morgan, we're talking about Burke County, and so I don't want my drone shots to go out of date. So about every 3 months, I go out and I do a different flight over Morganton or over Valdez or whatever. So when they talk about, life here in Morganton really is great, because one of the questions I always ask in those videos is, why did you decide to stay here in Burke County? And so they'll always say, well, Morganton has so much to offer, and I got that cool shot to show of Morganton, right? So yeah, it's cool that you found out about me through that. That's interesting that you that the drone shots is what brought you to me and our discussion over guitar.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was the one that you did where you're showing the stuff that they're doing at the courthouse.
Oh yeah.
Now I will have to say I have to disagree with you on something on that video. You're talking about how much you think that Morganton's better than Valdez. I used to live in Valdez. I miss Valdez. I live in downtown Morganton, and I'm telling you, I want to get the heck out of downtown Morganton.
Truly, I am a Valdez guy, and I hope nobody thinks I was saying that. I think Morganton is putting more money into the arts. They're trying to. They're trying to. A lot of people
except
would say,
for the graffiti they got over here on this one.
Yeah.
I'm sitting up there going, they asked me for a petition to sign to do it. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do art in the streets, and I was thinking art. Okay, that's cool. And then when I go and I see what they did, I was like, why does this look like the crappy part of Asheville? Why does this look like the ghetto of Asheville? What did you do?
Morganton is trying to follow the Asheville model, aren't they?
Why would they want to do that?
I wonder if what they've done is that's what Black Mountain did, didn't they? Black Mountain sort of became the Little Asheville, and I think maybe Morganton has looked at Black Mountain and said, well, maybe we could become the Little Asheville too. I don't know.
Yeah, but see, we're going and adopting the bad parts of Asheville.
Oh well, yeah, you could argue some of that, yeah.
And it's like, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. Especially, as a person who lives in downtown, I've seen the drunkenness in downtown very much increase over the past 10 years.
Well, it's funny how we have a lot of breweries and stuff there now. Now I'm not into alcohol at all, but it's a big growing thing, isn't it? And I don't know. I don't know that I understand from a business point of view how that's brought a lot of business to the area, but does it ultimately lead to some alcohol problems?
I don't have a problem with the breweries. What I have a problem with is, here in the past 10 years since having this apartment, I've noticed that it used to be like once a week I'd hear somebody screaming outside. Just random stuff, and now it's like 3 or 4 times a night I hear this from drunk individuals, and it's like, okay, this doesn't seem safe anymore.
Valdez doesn't seem to have much of that. You
just have Jay Pascal saying crazy stuff.
But I gotta say, as a guy that's from the high mountains, I loved it. I loved being up there and everything. And for the longest time, for 20 years, I lived over in Conover, which is the other side of Hickory. Mm-hmm. And that was an all right place. But moving back this way has been good for me. I think Burke County Burke County is kind of a magical place. It is no place is perfect, of course, but man, we kind of got it made, don't we? I mean, it's
there's a lot of good stuff in the area as well. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Amy said whenever we opened up Dogs Unleashed is she said that if I would open up something of this size in Asheville, I would have been paying double the rent.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, economically, yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Now, and plus we recently got a luthier in downtown Morganton.
Really? Where is this at? Where's this?
Over at what is it? Union Street Art Studio.
Really?
Adam Mackey and his wife own the place, and they have a luthier over there now. So I told him that when my chip sync comes in, that I'm going to go and get those. Do you
know who the guy is? I'm just curious.
His name is Robert.
Robert. Okay. I know Abraham Amador here locally used to work over at the music store before it went out of business. Used to do a lot of guitar setup and stuff. but
Oh
his
yeah,
name's Robert.
I used to go down to the music center all the time, and I
Yeah.
remember it was always either Fender, Ibanez, Les Paul, and then your amp choices were Fender, Crate,
Peavy.
and maybe they'll have something weird like a Blue Voodoo or something
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
And see, that's the crazy thing in terms of gear and all that stuff. When I was first learning, I thought that's all that existed, because the internet wasn't what the internet is today back in 1995.
Right.
And so I thought this was all that existed. So when I started to hear the names Harley Benton, PRS, and all these others, I was like, what is that? Is that a new company? And, you hear that Paul Reed Smith has been around for, God knows how long. And then, at the time, I think the only pedals they sold were Ibanez pedals and maybe one other company. And I was like, oh, so Boss is getting into the game now. I thought a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And go to find out they have been around for, how long, But yeah, I remember I used to take guitar lessons at the music center.
Yeah.
First with Vic Wheeler.
Yeah.
And then with another guy by the name of John. I forget John's last name. Great individuals, by the way.
Yeah, there are some tremendous players around the area.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess the one thing I'm hoping that does happen with all this new stuff they're doing downtown, and especially once the pandemic is over, I'm hoping it really becomes easier for local musicians to get out there and do stuff. They're going to have this really great, like over the past years, they had to set up the big tent, and they had to set up the. I can understand why they've done what they've done. Now they're going to have a permanent venue there that doesn't
really
have to be
great.
set up and broken down, tore down, and music. Hopefully there'll be a sound system that's there, that's the house system that's like kind of always there and easy to set up and easy to have people come and dial in. And I hope that people like you and I, if we wanted to put an impromptu band together, wouldn't it be cool if we could practice a couple months and get a good band and then go out and play some night? I mean, it doesn't have to be one of the showcase nights. Wouldn't it be cool if everything's so accessible now that we might pick a Tuesday night or something and go out and play in the summer, leave it for the big bands on Friday night or whatever they're going to do, But I would like to think that there's more opportunity for more people to play and show what they do.
Oh yeah, whenever I went to school in Brevard, there was a coffee shop I managed in downtown called the Essence of Time, and they did something that was really cool. Every Wednesday night, there was a gentleman by the name of Jesse Norton, and you would get to go and play with Jesse and all that stuff, and it was like everybody would get into a circle and play and all that stuff, and I was the oddball out of it. It's like everybody's playing these folk songs and this country stuff, and I'm going, okay, every rose has its thorn, and they're like, what? But that was a really cool thing looking back on that, and the local radio station, which was the AM station, and this is the way they used to do it back then, is they would go and take the phone line and run the cord from the phone line to the PA system.
Wow.
And all that stuff, and they would broadcast it every
Wow.
Wednesday night on the local AM station over there. And the thing about it though is that we have places in the area such as was it Brown Mountain Brewery? That'd be something great for them, or maybe the Grind. Have a person to host, a thing where the musicians can get together and go in a circle and play, amongst each other and all that stuff. Because that was
cool?
a big thing in Brevard. Every Wednesday night, Essence of Time was packed.
Wow. Well, yeah, I would love to see local music become more, more accessible. A little more people just get joyous about going out and seeing it and listening to it. There's still nothing like going out and seeing an inspired musician play. Yeah. I mean, I went to the Grind and saw Jim Hurst, who is like a guy that's won Bluegrass Player of the Year numerous times. One of the tremendous acoustic player. And went and saw him in that little upstairs room, which is small, it's only maybe 16, 18 feet, 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 70, 80 feet deep. And we're all sitting in there. I'm sitting on a couch right up front. And it just reminded me kind of like, I say, that experience with Clapton or when I was stood, 6 feet from Alex Lyston of Rush and watched the Moving Pictures tour back when I was in my teens, and just the impact of that. Just if you can see a good musician really tear it up, really practiced up with a lot of soul, it really inspires you, it's different than watching a YouTube video. It's different than listening to a CD. It's different than listening to just listen to a record or anything. Go out and see live music, and so I'm hoping number one that this bug dies out and everything's gone. Number two, I am going to have to get my tail out and play some music again, and I want to go out and support live music again. And I'm hoping Morganton really is going to. I'm hoping that the new setup they have is going to facilitate that a lot. And so Christopher, maybe you and your efforts here and the fact that you're downtown and you're doing this kind of musical blogging, maybe you can, I'm glad I'm one of the first people that's interviewed with you. You should do this with all the musicians around here and kind of build up a brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever. And we kind of get on the bandwagon for supporting local live music.
Yeah, any of your friends who are in that plethora there that they want to, just send them my way. I'll be happy to have them on.
You should talk to Dr. Christopher Clapp at some point. He's the guy that does what's the name? The Alligators, the blues guy. Have you ever talked to Dr. Clapp?
I think I've heard the name.
He's a pediatrician. He'd be a great guy to interview.
Oh, really?
And there's another. Since I work for the hospital system, I know the doctors that are musicians. There's another one that used to be in a group called Sweet Revenge, which is a local group. I don't know if they're still together or not, but that's Dr. Scott. Oh, good grief! What is Dr. Scoggins? Scott Scoggins.
That's my doctor. I'll have a talk with him.
You ever heard
wife
Scott
comes and brings
play?
her dogs.
Oh, Scott's a good player, man.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
A great singer, great player. Oh, dude, you got the cool doc. Scoggins, yeah. He's
a good guy. He's a good guy.
Well, man, I could talk to you all night long. I know you want to. We've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes. Crazy, but I want to share this with my folks. Certainly, anytime you want to talk with me, if you want to get together at some point and we jam a little bit, that'd be great. Any piece of gear that I've got that you want to mess around with a little bit, we'll talk that up a little bit. And maybe, like this buddy here, let me borrow this Tone Master. I can't believe it. It's awesome. What an opportunity to do some videos. And maybe we could share some gear or something and do some reviews.
Oh, absolutely. You said you were interested in the Harley Benton. If you ever wanted to give this one a tumble, or the Klon Centaur clone, I think the people on your side would absolutely love that, probably.
Totally. Listen to you doing the two-hand on the ES guitar.
That was one of the very first things I learned. I thought I was the stuff when I...
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I thought it was the stuff when I was able to do that. And I was like, come to find out, it's not really that hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I used to do some of that mess. Not really great at it.
Yeah, see, it was weird because I could not get out of that. I could not get out of that box that I put myself in. Bands that I played in, some of the guys were younger than me. They're like, man, that sounds too 80s. I go, I know it's the good stuff.
That guitar, $200, man. Sweet. But that amp is a monster.
That is a nice sounding amp.
Christopher, many thanks. Friends, if you're watching my channel, if you're watching, Christopher's going to post this on his, but go over to his channel, support it. He's trying to grow this thing. Let's help him grow it. I think it would be great to see him and the other local. I'm just tickled to find somebody that's into YouTube, into video, and into music that's here in my area. And so I was delighted when you reached out to me, Christopher. Many thanks again for giving me the opportunity to come on your little show. I think it's killer what you're doing.
Well, thank you, brother. And just know, anytime you want to come back on and say, hey, if you send me an email, say, hey, I want to discuss this or that, AJ, just let me know. I'm
Why
open
don't
to
we
it
do
anytime.
that? Yeah. Why don't we just decide, hey, one night a month or something that we'll get together. We'll talk about some new gear or something. I think that I would love to
Yeah,
do that
sounds
with
like
you.
a plan.
And like I
Sounds
say,
good. You can go and give me a hard time. If you want to give me a hard time about that Chipson after it comes in, you can.
No, man, I'm sure it's going to be great. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much again for the opportunity, and yeah, we'll do this again soon. I really enjoy talking with you. I love the direction. Love what you're trying to do. So I will big time support it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, brother.
You
And
bet, my
ladies and
friend.
gentlemen, Tony Lee Glenn here with us, and so thank you there, brother.
You bet, my friend.
All right. Shalom and
Shalom.
welcome. Shalom.
All right, man.